dates and maybe some streaming video feed or whatnot onto the internet. This is the most animated our scoreboard's ever been. We've had this scoreboard for years, and this is the most information we've ever got off of it. And now the driver can actually look at the scoreboard after the race and see what his final time was without having to wait and go back and get the sheet and get it on the board. So yeah, we've had a really good reaction from everyone.
As qualifying ended, there was no question who made it into the A final.
Basically, my car is evolved from a couple weeks of being out here with extensive testing with Gil Losi Jr. and Brian Kinwald, and our backs have been against the wall here at the ranch for the last couple years running against Associated. They've had their way with us for the last couple years in big races here, and basically it's just a lot of teamwork between me, Gil Losi Jr. and Brian Kinwald with the setup, and both our cars are identical, and that's what we came up with in the last 2 weeks, just a lot of practicing.
Well, you know, with the cars preparing for this race, this has always been a difficult circuit for us. It's kind of a slippery, dusty type of surface. Even when it's blue groove, it's not totally, you know, it's not a real tight type of traction. So we set about just, you know, we decided to run a standard car that like everybody else was bringing to the race. That way, you know, we could help all the other drivers, and we didn't feel it was necessary to build anything special. We just, you know, buckled down and learned some setup stuff. But with just a few geometry tweaks, we were able to get the cars real competitive. And we have 5 in the final. We have the fastest time of the event. You know, Greg was probably the most consistent guy in the event. You know, so we're really happy with how the cars have run. You know, now we have to wait and see what happens in the finals.
Before the start of the finals, there was a practice final. This practice final is so that the drivers can practice with the other 9 drivers in their final event. This practice session is also used to determine that there are no radio frequency conflicts. All radios are subject to impound and kept in the impound area during the race event. Drivers pick up and return their radios each time they race their event. To verify legal frequencies, Novak Electronics' Tyree Phillips check racers in with their frequencies, and after being checked, each get a sticker stating that their frequency is legal and checked. Bob Novak explains the testing procedure.
And this piece of equipment is called a spectrum analyzer. What it does is it picks up the transmitted signal and displays it on the screen. And what we're looking for is whether the transmitters are on frequency and whether they are within the bandwidth that the specifications call for. The way this works is we punch in the frequency. Frequency is 27.0. 27.255 megahertz. And as soon as he turns the transmitter on, this antenna, this is a glorified receiver. It just picks up the transmitted signal and will display it on the screen. And as you can see here, we hit the amplitude to get the peak signal. The middle of the screen is where the center frequency is supposed to be.
Me and Greg Hodap and Brian Kinwald, we had been talking over in the pits, and you know, they knew that this was my first World Championship appearance, and we've been good buddies for a long time. So I told Hodap that if I made the A, I would do an Irish jig around the whole track. Well, they kind of make me live up to my bets, so whenever I did find out I was in the A main, they made me go right out there and do it. And I also told them that if I did do it, that I would do 2 cartwheels at the end, which you guys all saw. And that was basically why I was doing it, was the bet.
Sponsored by Yokomo Associated, Proline, KO Pro Boutique and Reedy Modifieds, Kimbrough, RC Performance, Hot Bodies, Team Suzuki, RC Car Pro Shop, and Takatani, your top qualifier, Masami Hirosaka. Qualified in the number 2 position, sponsored by Team Losi, Trinity, Novak, ERG2R Street, it looks like. Your number 2 qualifier is Greg Hodap. Your number 3 qualifier from the United States of America, sponsored by Trinity, Losi, Novak, Airtronics, MIP Lawrenceburg, Racer's Edge. Brian Kinwald. And in the fourth position, also from the United States of America,
The drivers of the A final have to run 3 finals. The winner is determined by the total points of their best 2 races.
MIP.
The first A final was a little rough. The race was very close at the end, with Masami and Pavidis racing to the finish line, with Pavidis taking the win. Scott Hughes in 3rd, Scott Brown in 4th, Kinwald finished 6th. Craig Hodap placed 7th.
Now the scoreboard is showing the 9, but unofficially, as watching the race, the number 3 car is in the lead. So we must have missed a lap on the 3 somewhere down the line. And we are down to 10 seconds on the race clock. 10 seconds. We're coming up on time on the clock. And it's going to be
The second A final showed a little more excitement, with Brian Kinwald eventually coming from his 3rd qualifying position to take the win. The Trinity, Losi, and Novak teams were ecstatic about Brian's win. As mentioned before, Brian was having some major radio problems prior to qualifying. But it seems his problems have disappeared with his first A final win. And from out of nowhere to take 2nd was Brian Dunbar, also racing for Losi.
The participants all run here as they would at a normal national meeting in their own country, and they have to bring their cars through the tech area to make sure that the cars comply with the IFMAR rules before they race. And once they've completed their races, they'll come back through the tech area for a check that nothing has happened to the cars during the race that would make them illegal. The tech area is very important to the event because it ensures that everybody is complying with the technical rules of the cars and everybody is racing to the same rules.
Behind the scenes is Trinity's motorman Rob Cutman, making sure that each motor had what it takes to take the drivers to the front. Assisting Rob is David Spachette, Trinity's sponsored driver from England. David was testing out a new motor dyno called the Gale Force.
It's been really helpful because the driver will come in and say, I need more power, I need more punch, or whatever he wants. And by looking at the graphs we obtain from the dyno, we can tune the motor to exactly what he wants. So in 2-wheel drive, it was really good. All the drivers wanted smooth motors, so on the dyno we could just make them smoother, but still have the top end speed they wanted for their straightaway. So it's been really good. The winds we're using have varied anything between 9 and 15 turn this weekend, so the dyno's been really good in showing the differences between all of them, and from the RPM the dyno gives you, you can choose the gear ratio. So from that point of view, the driver has less to worry about. He just looks at the car and we just supply him the power. What we look for is this blue line here is the amp draw. So you can just basically see how thirsty the motor will be under acceleration. This green line down here is the torque. So again, most drivers like loads of torque, so when they accelerate over jumps, it will just go. This blue line here is the power. And by looking down on this bottom scale here, it's the RPM, so you can see where maximum power is. So there you can choose your gear ratio and how to drive the motor. This pink one here, this is the efficiency. Normally electric motors will not go over 60% efficient. So what we look for is between 50 to 55. Anything above 55 is exceptional. So for 4-wheel drive, we're looking around that region because obviously duration's close. This white line here is the resistance. Now this is measured across the motor as it accelerates. So the faster it goes, the more brush bounce you get. So therefore the resistance will go up towards the end of the test. So therefore you can see whether you've got a good contact between the comb and the brush. And that helps you a lot after a race to see how the motor behaved.
A finals are interspersed between the other final events. The finals went from A to O.
I think we have a very good chance. You know, I think the guys are running right there. You know, being that we have the fastest time in the event, if we can do 2 of those, we can definitely win. Hopefully the same guy does both. But, you know, it's the mains like this, you know, so much can happen. And I got all the confidence in the world in my guys that are up on the front of the grid. Those guys know how to race. They're pit bulls on the track. They know what to do to win. So, you know, they can handle their own. You know, the only thing you got to watch out for is Masami. You know, he knows how to win world championships.
Finally, it was time for the show. There were several racers who have a chance to take the win. As the horn sounds, let's follow the action as it's being announced.
And the final event underway. There's Kinwall on the inside around the sweeper. There's Scott Hughes. And Hughes trying to make a pass. But Brian Kinwall hugs the sweeper. Hughes rolls it and he takes out Masami. Bobbles right into him, so Kinwall out in the lead. And that is Mark Francis in the second spot. Dunbar now in the third position. Car number 3 is your race leader. That is Brian Kinwall. Second spot is the number 6, Mark Francis, followed by Brian Dunbar. Oh, Francis rolls it, so Dunbar takes over the second spot. And that is Gabe Boudreau from the back of the pack in the third position. So your leader on the course is the number 3, Brian Kinwall. Dunbar finished second in leg number 2. Kinwall was the winner. Boudreau hanging in there for the third spot. Masami Hirasaka in the fourth position. 1:20 off of the clock. Masami trying to make a pass through the number 10. The number 10 holding nice clean lines though. The leader is the number 3 of Brian Kinwall. Turn marshals, don't forget to watch the corners. Watch your corners, turn marshals. Lap time for Kinwall, 24.64. Fastest lap time on the last lap, 24.7 for Dunbar, 24.8 for Masami Hirasaka. So you better believe those 6 shooters are loaded for this final leg here, as they're bringing everything they've got out to the track. Dunbar hanging on to the lead. Check that, I'm sorry. 2 Bryans, it is Kinwall. Sorry about that. The number 3 is your race leader. Last lap time, 24.61 for Brian Kinwall. Brian Dunbar in the second spot, 24.85, 24.55 for Masami Hirasaka. Approaching the 3-minute mark, drivers. Oh, Masami almost rolls it through the corner top there. And Dunbar had a faster lap time there on the last lap. So Dunbar and Kinwall stretching out their leads. Battle for third between Masami Hirosaka and Gabe Gaudreau. So Gaudreau trying to come back on the heels of Masami Hirosaka. A minute and 30 seconds on the race clock. And we have two Team Losi drivers out in the lead. Masami Hirosaka right there in the third spot. Just about a minute to go on the clock, so that's going to be about 2.5 laps left on the course. All right, drivers, we have almost 30 seconds on the race clock. One more lap to go. Actually, they might squeak by for a 13-lap run. It's possible. 15 seconds left to go on the race clock. Seconds, and it's Kinwall with the 1997 IFMAR World Champion, the first World Championship for Team Losi. That is unofficial at this time. That is unofficial, and I believe with that run by Dunbar, that might put him in the second spot. We'll have to take a look at the tiebreakers, but that is the unofficial result. The unofficial result, Brian Kinwall, your 1997 two-wheel drive IFMAR World Champion. Those drivers will have to go through tech. Those cars
As Kinwald accelerated to put an inside move on Masami, he ends up leading the final and winning 2 of the A finals, giving Trinity, Losi, and Novak a world championship.
swept the Roar Modified Nationals, but here he comes here to Pomona, California, taking his second World Championship in the 110 scale off-road for IFMAR. We have Brian Kinwald! World Champion, right here, Brian Kinwald. Those are your top 3. Mr. Masami Hirosaka, TQ in third spot. Second position, Brian Dunbar, and your new champion, Mr. Brian Kinwald. Congratulations to all 3 racers.
I felt really good for our company as well as, Team Losi and Brian. I know how difficult Losi's worked over the past few years, especially Junior, designing what he felt and I feel is the best two-wheel drive car in the world. And I think it's great for the industry in general for another company to rise above, and Brian being the first person to ever win, with each manufacturer. I think a lot of talk has been made that, by opposing camps that, Brian would never win again, and I think he got a monkey off his back, and he's been the most dominant racer this year by far, and I think he deserved to win. We're really happy for him.
Friday, August 15th, was the start of qualifying for the four-wheel drive portion of the Worlds. The same type of program was scheduled as two-wheel drive. 1 practice round and 4 rounds of qualifying. Saturday would have the 5th round of qualifying, a practice main, and then the finals. The Ranch Pit Shop crew did an excellent job throughout two-wheel and four-wheel drive in keeping the track in top condition. Between each qualifier and final events, the crew would sweep the loose dirt off to the side.
Last year, I think I practiced a little bit more than I did coming into this World Championships. Usually, like for the 95 World Championships in Japan, practiced about 3 or 4 times a week for about 2 months. And then before this one, it's been on and off for about a month and a half.
Top qualifier from round number 1 is in this race. The number 2 of them, Masami Hirosaka. Oh no, the number 6 lost a tire. Looks like he forgot to put some glue on the right tire. .37 for Masami Hirosaka, 23.73 for Greg Hodak. So the number 1 is quick time on the course. Now we have Carl Marsden in the second spot with a 24.28. Hirosaka 24.7, Hodap 24.04, Marsden at 23.99. Less than a minute to go in race number 14 here. 23.08. I believe a 5:04 was his fastest qualifying time in round number 3. And it looks like he's going to try to go even faster than that. I think Masami might be trying to get it down into the 14-lap run. That's probably what he's going to try to do in these next 2 rounds of qualifying. As he had a 23 flat on the last lap time. Watch it through the triples. So Masami and Hoda, both drivers flashing on the screen. And even though Hodap is 5 seconds behind the race leader, he was still on a faster pace than the 5:08. 13 laps, 5:02 now for Masami Hirosaka. So he goes even faster in round number 4. 5:11, 5:07, 5:04, and now a 5:02 for Masami Hirosaka. So it looks like that 5:11 is going to be one of his throwouts now. Hodap finishes just about 5 seconds behind, so he's going to have a 5:07. Hodap's going to take over the second position for this round. Once again, Masami Hirosaka.
After the first day, it was evident that Masami, driving a Yokomo, was on a mission and taking TQ in all 4 rounds of qualifying. This definitely locked up the pole position for Masami. The two-wheel drive champ, Brian Kinwald, had some bad luck in 3 of his 4 qualifiers. It was a tough break for Trinity, Losi, and Novak teams.
I mean, this system is 3 out of 5 qualifiers, and the Americans really aren't used to that right now. We were out there trying to turn fast times, and we had a lot of bad luck. I mean, Brian, I think, broke 3 out of 5 runs, and Matt had trouble, and some of the other guys. So I think it's realistically we're only going to put maybe 2 cars in the A. So it'll be difficult, especially with Masami and Mark up front.
Well, coming into this race, I only had one battery on the car before they started controlled practice, and I was kind of feeling it out during the controlled practice here. So just what I learned in practice, it seems to be working out pretty good.
Saturday, August 16th, was the last round of qualifying before the finals. And to nobody's surprise, Masami won the last round. However, Craig Hodap was still in the A final, as well as Matt Francis, who was also running a Losi car.
This is really the most involved I've been in any kind of organization of an event. From here, I have to go back to Team Losi, my real job now, and finish up the instruction manuals and whatnot for the street weapon. So that'll be about 2 weeks non-stop work there, and from there, who knows? You know, we're looking at bringing in the BBK software here into the U.S. and distributing it through the ranch pit shop. So I'm sure I'll be involved in that a little bit, because hands-on now, I've got quite a bit of experience with it. So.
And will you be driving at the next IFMA Worlds?
I was actually planning to drive at this one, but there's only so many hours in a day, and there just wasn't enough time. So yeah, I'm sure I'll be back out there running again in the next one.
I think for sure. I think our first immediate goal would be England next year. It's the on-road World Championships, and we're going there with high expectations with David Spashett, who's from England. So I think we'll hopefully be a favorite there. And you know, with Joel, and if we can find Joel, he's been missing for about 6 months, so we're looking for him. And Mike Blackstock, I think we have a real good chance. And you know, I'm sure Losi's going to continue to work on the off-road, and we're going to try to keep our team together and give ourselves a good shot for the next one.
Looking on the outside, now the inside. And what a battle for second we have here. Inside, Pavita's takes it back. That's the right, and he goes through the corner. Pavita's back with the second spot. What a last lap as they will be on their final lap, 2 and 4. Nice racing by the 2 and 4. Tenori on the inside. Pavita's on the inside, down the back straightaway. And Pavita's trying to hold off Tenori as that is time on the race clock. Over the big jump now through the tabletop. On the short straightaway through the corner top. Right here about the finish line. Tenori on his game. Pavita's hangs on the second. Masami wins the first 8 lane though. Masami wins the first 8 lane. What a battle for second between Mark Pavitas and Yuka Tenori. 2 and 4. That was excellent racing. Down the back straightaway. They should make it by for one more lap. Masami Hirosaka working on lap number 12. Now lap number 13. En route to his 4-wheel drive championship on his final lap, the number 1 car. That is the number 4, Stenari. He on the 3rd or 2nd. Battle for 3rd between Rick and Mr. Evans. Rick takes over the 3rd spot over the triples. Time on the clock. Here comes Masami Hirosaka. Past the finish line for the 4-wheel drive championship. Masami Hirosaka. And the race, Yuka Stenari in the 2nd by Rick Coward in the 3rd position. William Mitchum. But it's going to be Masami Hirosaka in the number 1, taking T2 honors and your new 4-wheel drive world championship. Masami Hirosaka. You will have to come out for that final main event. So he has won the first 2 of 3 main events. Masami Hirosaka right now. The 1997 4-wheel drive IFMA World. give Leno a little bit of breathing room with only 20 seconds on the race clock. So Leno can put it in cruise control on his last lap here. Eason is on his last lap, along with Drescher. Mitchell makes it by, and the number 10 of Matt Francis makes it by. In the third spot. We'll try to give you your point totals as soon as the printout comes up. We know.
Again, to nobody's surprise, Masami won four-wheel drive. He definitely dominated this event. After the long 8 days of competition, it was time for all of the racers to get together at the awards banquet. The drivers and teams had their last opportunity to visit with each other before departing. At the awards ceremony, Peter Winton went down the list naming all of the 150 participants and where they placed. Each and every participant received a custom-made medallion that bared the event logo. When Peter reached the A main finalists, they were called up by class. The top 10 received some serious trophies, especially the top 3. In fact, the first place and TQ trophies were very big silver bowls. Then Brian and Masami posed together for several more pictures. Once all the trophies were passed out and the camera flashes stopped flashing, the music was cranked up and the party continued. This is one of the best parts of a World Championship event, getting the opportunity to mingle with friends from other parts of the world. Oftentimes, the camaraderie at these events is every bit as much fun as racing itself.